hoping that they will join us when they have the opportunity to do so. I want to welcome everyone to today's Lunch and Learn about the Leadership Institute. I'm Wendy Cannell, the Director of Training and Leadership Development here at Wisconsin Farm Bureau, and I coordinate the Leadership Institute program. And so we're just basically going to go over some of the sessions that the Leadership Institute showcases, and then have an opportunity for all of you to ask questions. I have a few people who are past participants joining us today. I see Jill's on. Hi, Jill. She is a past participant of the Institute, so I'm looking forward to answering any questions that you might have. So we're going to go ahead and get started. For those of you who are not familiar, the Institute is a year-long leadership development program focused on developing strong county farm bureau leaders. So we work on developing you as a leader individually, but then also working in teams and putting together people in teams and all of those things. So it's kind of a rundown when we tell people what the Leadership Institute is about. That's kind of what we tell everyone. So it's broken up into 6 different sessions throughout the year. So this year, starting in 2019, the dates that I'm going to share today are the 2019 dates. So we actually move the sessions around the state. The first session is always held in Madison. It's held at the Farm Bureau office. And that is really when you get to meet all of the awesome participants in the Institute. And it's a really unique experience because you probably won't know everybody that's in the class once you get started, but by the end of the class, you will get to know everybody really, really well. So in our first session, it is 3 days long. We start on a Thursday in the afternoon, and then we go through Saturday early afternoon. You'll meet all of the other class participants. You'll hear from Jim Holt, the president of the Wisconsin Farm Bureau. We always have Craig Culver serve as a speaker for that session, talking about his leadership journey. But then we really focus on you and you as a leader. We look at your personal strengths. So we utilize the Gallup Strengths Finder, the strengths assessment. So you'll be able to identify your top 5 strengths. We'll take a look at emotional intelligence and how you work with and identify how you react to specific situations that you might be in. And then we practice and amp up your public speaking skills. So we will focus on some of Farm Bureau's priority issues and help you develop a 3-minute speech, which you'll practice and practice and practice. And you'll be giving that in front of the class. So the first session is really focused on developing you individually with the assistance of the facilitators. We have facilitators from the American Farm Bureau come, as well as myself. So we'll help you practice all of those things and put them into play, whether it's on your farm or in your business, what you do in your day-to-day lives. Then we head to the second session, which happens in February. This session, I think, will be located in Appleton, but February 22nd and 23rd. Between session 1 and 2, you'll be given a group assignment where you will focus on a specific area of leadership and then work with your group to prepare a presentation. This picture here is from this year's group. They were talking about a book relating to trust. And so they were doing an exercise related to something that they had learned in the book. You'll learn more about Farm Bureau and more about Rural Mutual Insurance Company, which we are affiliates with. And then we'll also talk about dealing with conflict and earning trust. So the second session is a lot about dealing with other people and working as a team, which is really, really important. And it's really great because what you learn in this session doesn't apply just to Farm Bureau, but really any team that you might be a part of. Maybe it's another organization you're a part of, or maybe it's a part of a team that you are working with at your job. So this is a really great session to put the skills that you learned from session 1, mix them with the skills you learned in session 2, and then bring it all together. Because in session 3, which are the dates are March 29th and 30th, we'll be focusing on advocacy and working with people and talking with consumers. We want to help you maximize your content on social media. So how can you make the most of what you're doing? We also want you to be able to start those conversations with consumers. And when you're having those conversations and maybe someone doesn't agree with you on something, how do you handle those situations? And then we will also work on your interviewing skills. So how do you react to a newspaper reporter, or maybe we would assign you a television interview on a specific topic, which happens from time to time with some of our Institute participants. We give them those opportunities to work with and highlight what they know about agriculture in that session. Then we take a little bit of a break because we know that during the summer months there's a lot going on. There's family vacations, there's farming, we have planting and harvesting, we have a lot of county fairs going on. And so between the end of March and September, you will have a few assignments for those months, for that time period, but we won't get back together until September. So September 5th and 6th, we'll be back in Madison. We'll spend a day at the Farm Bureau office learning about various aspects of the agriculture industry from our government relations team. They'll invite in some speakers. We'll learn more about DATCAP and the role that they play in Wisconsin agriculture. And then we'll also take a look at Farm Bureau's policy development process and how that process works, if you're not familiar with that. If you are familiar, it's a good opportunity to just brush up on those skills. And then we'll participate in a mock legislative hearing. So we'll head down to the Capitol on the second day. This 5th and 6th is actually a Thursday and Friday. We'll head down to the Capitol. Paul Zimmerman usually gives us a short rundown of the Assembly chamber, and then we will participate in that mock legislative hearing. Here's a photo of Class 10 in the legislative hearing room where they gave their testimony. So it's essentially you learning more about a specific topic that's important to people in Wisconsin agriculture, and then sharing that with the individuals in your class. And so it's a good opportunity to learn more about a specific topic, but then also, again, practice those speaking skills that we've been talking about at all of the other sessions. The 5th session, we'll actually travel to another state farm bureau, and this rotates. So this class, the class that you would be applying for 2019, will travel to the Minnesota Farm Bureau. We'll learn about Minnesota Farm Bureau structure. We'll participate in a few agriculture tours and hear from speakers from the Minnesota agriculture industry. This picture here is the group that went to Indiana. We went to the Elanco Pulse Institute, where they gauge social media outcomes. And so what people are talking about on social media, a really cool and interesting tour that we were able to participate in. But this class, this would be class 13, will travel to the Minnesota Farm Bureau. So for those of you in Northwest or the western part of the state, we won't have to travel too far. But it's a good chance to meet some of those other staff people from other farm bureaus. And then in December, you will graduate at the WFBF annual meeting. So that'll be Sunday night. It's kind of a culmination, the end of the school year, or sorry, the school year. I didn't mean school year. The end of the program. And so you'll have the opportunity to go up on stage and get recognized for your work and participation in the Institute. But the fun isn't over there, because we'll have one more trip. We'll have the capstone trip, and that really is a culmination of everything that you have learned since the beginning of the Institute. That trip will take place in March of 2020. So the exact dates have not yet been chosen. We have to wait to see what the legislative schedule will be when our representatives will be in their offices. We want to make sure that we maximize that time. So What does the capstone trip involve? We'll head out to Washington, D.C. for 5 days, so Monday through Friday. On Monday, you'll get to D.C. We'll have the opportunity to do a few tours. Usually we tour Arlington National Cemetery on Monday and then have dinner with the Wisconsin Farm Bureau Board of Directors. They will travel on this trip with us. Tuesday, we will spend the day learning more about specific agricultural issues that are happening at that time. So we just got back from a trip in DC a couple weeks ago. So we talked about the Farm Bill and immigration. And so whatever topics are a high priority in March of 2020 are topics that we will learn more about. We'll have the opportunity to visit another country's embassy. So we've traveled to New Zealand and Mexico. We've gone to those embassies, and then you'll have a chance to see AFBF, the AFBF offices, and usually we try to sneak in a short trip to USDA as well. And then Wednesday we head to Capitol Hill, and that's when you take the skills that you've learned in the Institute and get to meet with legislators and talk about issues that are affecting you, your businesses, your farms, and share your story with legislators. Get to know them. We'll meet with representatives in the morning, and we usually like to meet with our senators as a whole group in the late afternoon. And so we'll be able to meet with them and share our stories. Then Thursday, you'll be able to spend some time touring the sights and sounds of DC, and we'll head back to Wisconsin on Friday. So that's kind of just a very quick overview of the schedule and kind of what happens during each session. But some of the details and probably the most questions that I get asked are about the cost and how much time does it take. So if you're interested in applying, and I really hope that you are, applications are due on August 15th. They can be found on our website, WFBF.com. You go to Programs, Leadership Development, and then find the Institute, and you can find the application there. The cost to participate is $800, and so that might come from you. It might come from some sponsorship from your county farm bureau. It might come from sponsorship of maybe a business you work for. But that $800 includes everything that you're going to need for the class. So we utilize iPads in the Institute, and so everyone will get an iPad during the first session, and everything that we do will be done. Most of it's paperless, so we'll share documents and do everything that we need on the iPad. It also includes all of your hotel and meal costs while you're participating in the class. So anytime you need to stay overnight in a hotel, we cover that cost, and anytime we have a meal at a specific place, we cover that cost as well. It would also include your travel costs for a trip to the Minnesota Farm Bureau and your travel costs to Washington, D.C. And so to fly to D.C., we would cover the ticket, and we'll drive to the Minnesota Farm Bureau, obviously, because it won't be too far of a drive for any specific person. But once we're in DC too, we do cover some of your meal costs and transportation to and from specific meetings that we need to take. So your actual out-of-pocket costs above and beyond the $800 will not be very significant. And I did invite some past Institute participants to join us for this. So Jill, I see you're on here. Do you want to talk a little bit about your experience with the Institute and why you think others should be a part of it?
Sure. So first, I'll just start by saying doing Institute was probably the best decision, one of the best decisions I've ever made. I gained a lot from Institute, and as time goes on, I realize how much more I keep benefiting from it. One of the biggest or the greatest things that I got from Institute was the broadening of my network. I really got to meet people from around the state. And when you say, like you meet these people, like you don't just meet them, you spend a lot of time with them and they truly become your family. And so being able to, continue to work with them and they become, valued advisors in different aspects of your life. So I certainly appreciate the network that I gained that way. And I still rely on that network. And with that network becomes a lot of diversity. So, you get to see a lot, between the people in your class, but also as you're learning throughout your class and going to the different farm bureaus, you're learning about different ideas that you can bring back to your county and to your state that you didn't have prior to Institute. And for me, when I started Institute, I had only been a Farm Bureau member for like 6 months when Institute got started. So for me, I learned just so much more about Farm Bureau. I probably didn't join Farm Bureau for the right reasons. But Institute really taught me, like, I'm truly part of an organization that does great things. And lastly, Institute really built my confidence in all aspects of my life, whether it's the positions that I hold in Farm Bureau or even just throughout my career and truly working with others. And just by improving my people skills, a lot of the work that we did through Institute was having us face our fears and stepping outside of our comfort zone and being able to work through that and applying those skills outside of class truly has benefited me. So those are just a small handful of things that I really gained out of the Institute class. So.
All right, great. Thanks, Jill. I'm going to come back and ask you some questions. I know Emily Johnson is also on the call today. So, Emily, I'm going to have you go ahead and share your experience as well.
Okay, awesome. Can everyone hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Awesome. I wasn't sure. Jill's a tough act to follow because she says things so well, and I can agree 100% with everything that she said. Not only do those people become a network for you, though, in your class also become lifelong friends. I think, speaking for Jill and I, we knew each other before, but I can say that we still talk to the people who we were in Institute with on a weekly basis, whether that be to get advice or look for suggestions or helpful tips in not only Farm Bureau, but our farms and life in general. One of the biggest things that I got out of Institute was the advocacy part of being a farmer. I like to think I was an advocate for agriculture before I took Institute, but I definitely was able to hone in my skills and gain a confidence that I never had before. And I feel like I actually have a voice now that I can more confidently talk about agriculture and some of the hot button issues that we face as farmers. One thing I think that sticks out to me was the DC trip. It was a once in a lifetime experience, and I'm thankful and lucky enough to say that I just went on a second trip to DC with Farm Bureau through the Farmer Fly-In, and that trip to DC really gives you a chance to, it's a capstone. It gives you a chance to use everything that you've learned and worked hard on, whether that be learning how to talk to the media or how to talk to a politician or to actually talk about the issues that are important to farmers. You get to use all that that you've learned, and you get to talk to the big dogs per se about your concerns and your frustrations, and let them know that you're there to show them or help them understand what agriculture is and the issues that we face. And I don't know, Wendy. I think those are my big things. So I'll
Yeah.
take any questions you have too.
Yeah, those are really great. I think Jill and Emily talked probably a lot about building the network. And that's one of the things that when we give updates on the Institute and we talk about, how much the program costs, we really can't put a price on the networks and the relationships that you're able to build with that group specifically. I'm always impressed on how quickly a group of people can come together and become so close and work together to be better advocates for agriculture. So that's definitely one of the huge benefits of being a part of the Institute. Jill and Emily, would either of you like to comment on, I've had a lot of questions about work outside of class, and kind of the type of work that you had to do and how much of a time commitment did you really think that the Institute was outside of class?
I guess this is Emily again. I guess speaking from experience there, the time commitment, for me, I work off the farm, so it was pretty easy for me to present the whole program to my employer, and they said, yes, run with it, go for it, learn all that you can. So they were really good to me in that aspect, letting me have some extra time off. But as far as the workload with it, I would say I'm a procrastinator. So if you would spread the workload out and not do the capstone project in the last month, it works a lot better.
Point well taken.
This is Jill, and at the time I worked for the same employer Emily did, and I'm also a procrastinator and can echo everything Emily said. With that being said, I don't feel that it was too much of a time commitment either. Certainly all the assignments and everything that we had to do, we gained a lot from it. Maybe initially it seemed like a daunting task, but there's a lot that was gained out of it at the same time. So, although there's, reading a book and, writing different reports and things, the amount of hours wasn't that much because, each thing was kind of spread out throughout the program as well. And sometimes if you're like Emily and I, it's maybe a little more concentrated in a couple areas, but I didn't feel that the homework was not any like huge daunting task that I spent a lot of time outside of class doing.
Mm-hmm. And we provide timelines and give you time and help you with those assignments. So it's not like we would assign something one day and then expect it by the end of the week. We spend a lot of time being very methodical in how we give assignments and how assignments will be presented to the class or when they'll be due. So don't let that hinder your decision to apply or not to apply, because we can make really anything work. So with that, I'm going to open it up to questions. If anybody has any, ask away. Don't be afraid. There are no dumb questions, really. Jill and Emily, do you have anything else that you want to add? The number one reason why someone should apply, and then we can wrap it up.
I'll start. So for me in our Institute class, I was the youngest, and I think Wendy and Jill would both echo that I had maybe the most room to grow because I was fresh out of college and I thought, well, I'll just do this because I'm used to homework and it'll be what it'll be. And I gained so much experience that I thought I and never could have imagined what confidence and just everything that I learned from it was so valuable, and I still value it so much that I would encourage all of you that are listening. I will encourage anyone to join Institute because it will truly be the best decision you ever make.
All right, Jill, any last words?
My only, I would say that every person can come out of it with so many different things, but I think what it boils down to is there's so much personal growth and development that comes out of the class that you as a person can't see going into it as far as what you're going to gain. So that to me is the sole reason to do the class.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you, Jill and Emily, for sharing your insights on the class. If anybody who's watching has a question, please feel free to contact me. My email and my phone number are listed here at the bottom of this slide. I'd be more than happy to review any of the sessions, talk a little bit more about the program, answer any questions that you might have. As a reminder, the applications are due on August 15th. It's a short application, so definitely go online and check that out. And with that, I'm going to sign off. As a reminder, next month our Lunch and Learn is going to be on Wednesday, August 1st. And Rob Richard, who is the Senior Director of Government Relations, will be talking about the policy development process and some of the issues that are happening in agriculture. So mark August 1st on your calendar, watch our social channels for updates, and be sure to RSVP for that. I hope all of you have a great 4th of July holiday tomorrow and stay cool. And hopefully we'll see you all in August. Have a great day.